Back in the day, we used to get what everyone called GTA clones. Simpsons Hit and Run was a GTA clone, and even Rockstar's own Bully was just GTA for kids. And there was one game series that did get called the GTA clone, probably more than all of these games. Whether they were, honestly, in my opinion, different than Grand Theft Auto, except for, oh, you could steal a car, well, and it was crime shit. It shouldn't solely be left to Grand Theft Auto to do that, as I thought that this game series was always really great. I use that word heavily. I'm of course talking about Saints Row. Now, even though this game series started in 2006 with Saints Row 1, we've only gotten, in total, if you count Gat Out of Hell as its own game, 6 titles, actual titles in the series. And with the recent reboot being a complete failure, I don't know how long it'll be before we see Saints Row again, sadly. But in making a video of, gangster games I used to play, growing up and whatnot, I was thinking about, the Godfather games and the Mafia games, it reminded me of Saints Row, and I thought it'd be a quick, fun video to rank the Saints Row series. So, that's what I'm going to do now. Let's get right into it. Of course, at number 6 is the Saints Row reboot. They took everything that was great about Saints Row and threw it away. And to make this, I don't want to say woke, because I feel like a lot of people use woke to describe garbage or, stupid agenda shit, but it wasn't good. They replaced the lovable characters we had from the original games. Technically you're still the boss, but the boss is a fucking college kid, and it's campy, but not in a good way. We don't have Johnny Gat or Sean D or Pierce or Oleg, none of those guys. We get these mid-20s kids that are just cringy at best. It's more the dialogue.
Big, giant, sweaty, dangling horse testy just swinging in the goddamn breeze, knocking back and forth like a pair of motherfucking clappers in a giant horse flesh crotch bell.
And the story that probably is fucked more than anything in this game, other than the bugs. And I've only played this game one time, and I'm amazed that I managed to get through it, but I'm a cheap bastard. If I spend money on a game, you best believe I'm going to at least finish that game, because I knew it wouldn't be no 100-hour slog. And if it was, that would have been even worse. There's not much I can say good for this game. There's nothing I can say that's good about this game. The graphics aren't anything amazing. The story is garbage. The gameplay is still horrendous to this day. I tried replaying it recently just to see if they fixed any of the bugs. And I guess it's not as frequent, but it's still bad. The new map, while it could have been good, it's kind of like what Assassin's Creed did with Odyssey. In itself, Odyssey, I guess, is a good game to some people, but the core of the game is just not there. They make an origin story game, the year previously, and then they go further back to where you're not even an assassin. What I'm getting at is identity crisis. If you didn't want to be a Saints Row game, don't be a Saints Row game. Be whatever the fuck else you want. And so for me, it secures the worst, the top spot of the worst Saints Row game. And number 5, I don't know if really a lot of people include this as their own game. It was sold separately, kind of, so I include it as its own game, and that's Saints Row Gat Out of Hell. Kind of being a DLC to the 4th game, but just a longer DLC. You, for the first time and only time, you get to play as Johnny Gat, your best friend throughout the whole series. And while Johnny Gat's great, and the story is, it's ridiculously wild from the first 2 Saints Row games, even the 3rd Saints Row game, it's not the worst. You basically play Johnny Gat, and you're trying to get to the devil. You're trying to beat the devil's ass because he stole the boss. It's really goofy. The gameplay really takes a lot from Saints Row 4, a lot of the superpower elements, and, makes cars useless, but they still put them in there anyway. And you go into this hellish version of Steelport, and you just fight demons all day. And they brought back some characters, which was cool, but I don't know if it was enough to make this game great. At this point, Saints Row was getting too wild, too crazy. They were sick of being a GTA clone, so they just went to do their own thing to be completely bombastic and just crazy, and I never liked that, but nevertheless, it's a fun time. It's a game I don't know if I'd replay it anytime soon, but it's not a game I'd shy away from. If I'm doing a marathon of the series, I won't skip it. I will play it because I think that there's at least, because I feel like they fucked up a lot in the fourth game, but, you know, that game played a little better, in my opinion, had more to do. But I like the endings that you can choose, which is what they were supposed to go off of making the reboot, is that Johnny Gat, you know, gets a wish granted. And one of the options you can choose for the ending is to reboot the whole universe, which you think would mean bring back the characters, but like we mentioned previously, they did not do that. Gameplay solid, visually it's alright, and for the price tag that you're really getting for this game, which is basically a DLC price, it's not the worst thing ever, but it is number 5. Moving at number 4 is Saints Row 4. While I honestly enjoyed this game a lot when it initially came out, I didn't enjoy it for the fact of it being a Saints Row game. I enjoyed it because it was like a parody of The Matrix with some aliens and some funny stuff. It is a funny game, but it's not really that good of a Saints Row game. Like, it completely goes out the window. Like, if you thought 3 was too crazy, or the Saints Row the Third was too crazy, man, did they step it up a notch and really just threw that shit out the window. Giving you superpowers, there's this alien invasion, we have to save the Earth. It's a little too wacky for my taste, but it is cool how they bring back, again, more characters and kind of, or at least reference the first 3 games, and it's fun. And it's okay. I would replay it any day of the week before the reboot and Get Out of Hell, but it's not near the top of my mind when I'm thinking, you know, I really am in the mood for Saints Row. Never. The last 3 games are always my go-to. Again, gameplay-wise, this is where Get Out of Hell got its gameplay-wise. Like I said, you can run super fast, you can jump super high, and there's other, you know, powers like death from above and stuff like that. It's been a minute since I played this one. I didn't feel like playing it for this ranking, but I do remember. And it is cool that, you know, because in the third one, spoilers for the third one, they kill Johnny Gat, but then he comes back. They made a good choice there. That's probably the best choice out of the whole game they made, was to bring him back. And, you know, we had a lot of these previous characters from the last couple games kind of come back and were on a ship. Again, Matrix vibes, which is fine. I don't mind that, which actually I believe that's what this game started as, was a DLC for 3 called Enter the Dominatrix, I think it was called. So it's kind of like how Mirage was, you know, it's a DLC built to be a full game. And that's kind of the problem here, is it really does feel like a DLC, but like it's like playing Saints Row the Third with heavy mods, and there's just too much going on here. And again, I haven't played it in a while, so I don't have too much good to say about it. It feels good to play. It's not overly hard. It's funny, at least. The other 2 games aren't really that funny that were down the list. And of course, we got our legendary characters. Coming in at number 3, and I swear I'm not doing this on purpose, is Saints Row the Third. I remember when this game came out, and I believe it was 2011, 2012, around that time. Because I was playing the first 2 games at that time, I was so excited for this game. I watched that trailer over and over again. I'm not a Kanye West fan, but I put that in the shuffle of my playlist of songs on my iPod. I was broke. It was more of an MP3 player. But I remember watching that trailer over and over and over again. While I knew out the gate it was going to be a different style and tone of the first 2 Saints Row games, I thought that it would only be an improvement. And while it's not the worst thing to happen, I'm not a fan of going away from Stillwater and going to Steelport. I didn't think the villains were too bad, but the story did confuse me at times. Again, I was really young the first time I played it. I get it more now, but even then, to me, the story's not all that great, although the stories aren't always the most important thing in these games. The gameplay, I thought, worked really well. Where Saints Row 1 and 2 had pretty arcadey gameplay, I thought that Saints Row the Third really not grounded itself, that's the wrong word, because it was still wild and crazy, but it was a little more accessible. It was easier to flow with it. I like some of the little, like, execution animations, or like those, like, you know, whooping ass animation. I don't know what you call them. Those animations where you're beating the shit out of people. I think that's funny. And I like a lot, you know, I do like the map of Steelport, but it just doesn't hold any comparison to Stillwater. Stillwater just had this amazing charm to it, and while Steelport's okay, I would, and especially at this point in time, I really would love to go back to Stillwater in a new installment. It's okay. I think the biggest problem I had with this game when it came out, even still playing it to this day, because it just rubs me the wrong way, is when they killed Johnny Gat right in the beginning. I love the actual intro to the game where we're robbing this bank, and then we get held up, and then that's why we're taking a Steelport. I think that's all great. The Morning Star, they're okay gang, and then you got the Luchadors and the Deckers or whatever, and they're okay. Again, a lot of fun and goofy side stuff, Professor Genki's, whatever the fuck, I thought that was pretty hilarious. But again, it starts to go into the realm of they wanted to go more and more over the top because they just didn't want to be compared to GTA anymore. At least that's what everybody believes. That's what I keep hearing. And if that's the case, that sucks because they really had a good thing going with the first 2 games. And obviously making this game, it wasn't too far out there. But then obviously we know what happened moving forward. And that's initially, in my opinion, what killed the series. If they would have just continued on a very straight path, maybe it would have worked out a little better and we would have got more games. But all in all, it's a good game. I can't complain. I will replay this game. Fuck the remaster. It's not worth it. You might as well just play the original. So if you can get your hands on the original, buy that because it's cheaper. It's a game I'll recommend to people. It's not the worst. Now coming in at number 2 is the original Saints Row. I know. I'm just great with hot takes these days. But anyways, Saints Row 1, I actually didn't play this game until way later, like around the time Saints Row the 3rd was coming out. I was too busy playing. You know it. But Saints Row 1 is, again, kind of what I always wanted from like GTA San Andreas, is like a lot of that gang shit. You start off as you're just this mute kid in the city of Stillwater, and you're just minding your own business, and one day, on the street you're walking down, shit gets a little intense, and you're caught as a casualty of the situation. And it's a really good intro. You get saved by Julius and Troy, the boys. Well, I don't know about Julius, but it's quick, it's simple. He says, hey, you don't got to, man, but if you're tired of shit happening in Saints Row, then come join us. You seem like you got some balls. And some balls the player did have. Goes to the church and gets enlisted into the Saints, and we go on the journey from there. Basically rising through the ranks, taking out all the major gangs in Stillwater, the Vice Kings, the Rollers, and the Los Carnales.
It's not the Los Carnales, it's just the Carnales. Los means... fuck it.
Or, I'm sorry, just Los Carnales. It's funny, it's goofy, the gameplay isn't nothing spectacular, but for 2006, wasn't that bad. It was I think it was a launch title for the Xbox 360, and it's not a bad game. Matter of fact, I think this game is really what should have got rebooted, or not even rebooted, because it has this charm about it. Just a really good remaster. Just clean up that gameplay mechanics, up the graphics, fix the sound design a little bit. Like, everything's great about this game. The soundtrack, the story, the voice acting, the characters, it all works well, and it doesn't necessarily need a remaster, but it wouldn't be so bad to see. I still play this game all the time. Maybe not, there's only a select few games I'll play once a year because there's so many games to play nowadays. I can't have too many games to play every year, but I do throw it on every once in a while when I'm in the mood. And it is definitely one of the first games I think of when I think Saints Row, because this is what the game is all about. I'm going to have to do reviews for all these games, or at least the first 3, because I like them more and I'm willing to go back and play them. So I'm sorry if I'm not being super descriptive, but I'm just kind of going off the cuff here. Love Saints Row. Love the map of Stillwater. Love all the characters. This is where we get Johnny Gat. I thought Troy, while being a little bitch, and if you know, you know, I liked him in the beginning hours of the game. Dex is a little pussy. We don't care about him, though. Except for we're waiting for that mission where we get to fucking pop him in the face. All in all, it's fun. It's goofy. I don't see why it's compared to Grand Theft Auto, but apparently it was. I think it's great. Number 2. So at my number 1, as if it would be any surprise, this is probably everybody's number 1, or most people's number 1, I would assume, that's Saints Row 2. One of the most praised games, well, the most praised game in the series, and one of the most praised games in that kind of genre, the later 2000s. Saints Row 2 did everything that Saints Row 1 did, but 10 times better. Now, while, again, graphically, this game wasn't holding up so well, I mean, this game came out in 2008, so did GTA 4, which is probably what might have hurt some of its sales, or claimed it as a GTA clone, and the game didn't look so great, and it still played a little wonky, just for the standards that we were getting at the time. But that arcadey feel is kind of what separated it from something like Grand Theft Auto 4 or other games of the time. I don't think the game looks bad, but it doesn't look great. And again, for 2008, I can forgive it, but it does kind of look like a game from like 2006, 2005. The characters, hilarious. All the side missions, because you have to do side missions to earn respect, at least in the first 2 games you have to earn respect to continue on with the story. Usually I would hate shit like that, like locked progression. I'm just a big story guy, and I'm like, well, if I want to do side content, I'll do it, but if I don't, I don't want to fucking do it. But with Saints Row 2 especially, Septic Avenger, Mayhem, Fuzz, love Fuzz. All these activities are so much fun to do that you'd honestly, if you do the first couple missions in the story, I get lost every time, and I end up doing as many side activities as possible to unlock certain unlockables, to get the respect rating up. That way, if I want to plow through the story, I can. And just overall, it's such a fun time. And again, like I said, my personal favorite has got to be Fuzz or Insurance Fraud. Love that shit, and it's awesome. Super campy, it's super goofy, and it takes itself seriously when it needs to be, but at the same time, it's not over the top serious. It knows that this game is a little much. The gangs in here that you fight against are great. The Ronin, the Sons of Samdi, the Brotherhood, great antagonists. And I remember finding the secret mission in the game, and I thought that was the coolest shit. I didn't even mean to find it, but I did. And you find the voicemails in the police station. If you know, you know. Again, if I do a retrospective of this game, we'll go in more depth with that, but I don't want to really spoil too much. I might have already, I don't know. But I remember that was the coolest shit. The map of Stillwater has a lot of cool Easter eggs to it, and it's just such a fun map to just roam around even after the main story is complete, because there's still so much to do. I thought, when you bought safe houses, and while it was very limited, you could upgrade them, and I thought that was super cool, and the kind of style points you would get for certain jewelry, and there was actually a lot of cool detail in this game. Honestly, more than GTA 4. While GTA 4 was very realistic and very dense, and I love that game in itself, Saints Row 2 just had something special going on for it. It could be goofy and serious at the same time, and again, I can't stress this enough, I just don't see how it's a GTA clone, because to me, it's always been its own thing. Grand Theft Auto is its own thing, obviously, and while that game's also goofy but serious as well, there's just a different tone with especially the first two games, even the third game, but 2 just does it like no one else. That soundtrack, fucking awesome, the map, perfect, the characters hilarious, the voice acting, love Johnny Gat, love Shaundi, and I love Pierce. The player here, or the boss as he's called in this one, is so good. The ending, just mwah. And I understood everything that was going on. There was no confusion like Saints Row the 3rd did for me. I love this game so much, and again, I'm definitely gonna go and replay this game throughout this at some point in this year and make hopefully a decently long retrospective. I'm keeping the videos short for now because I still got my own learning curve to go. But anyways, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much, and I want to know, what's your favorite Saints Row game, or even what's your Saints Row ranking? Let me know in the comments below, but that's all I got for you today. Thanks for clicking on this video, and well, that's all I got for you today. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe to see more stuff that I have done. But anyways, thanks for coming, and thanks for watching.